morning, and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Alex Reynolds. I use they, them pronouns, and I am your co-celebrant this morning. In the pulpit this morning is Kendra Weddle, who uses she, her pronouns. As scholar in residence at North Haven Church in Dallas, Kendra's expertise includes spirituality, feminism and religion, biblical and or theological reflections, intersections of Christianity and culture, and interfaith trends. We especially welcome those who are visiting today. If you haven't yet done so, please sign in at the visitors table by the front door, where you can be placed on our mailing list to receive weekly emails and the monthly newsletter. Before we continue on to worship, there are some announcements. So there will be a Tarrant County Labor Fest 2025 happening this coming Labor Day, so tomorrow. And that will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's by AFL-CIO. And that's going to be at the Shack Panther at 395 Percy Street. So feel free to, if you have the time, show up for that. And we also have an announcement from Jane Collins, if you'd like to come up, Jane.
I think this is a really important announcement, so I wanted to make sure everybody knew about it, especially people from Arlington. But the City Council in Arlington is going to be discussing DEI, whether or not to get rid of the ordinance they have that protects people that are diverse and diversion, equity, and inclusion. They're talking about getting rid of that. The city manager has proposed that. So anybody who's from Arlington or even wants to just come out to support, I believe this is really important. It just got defeated in Fort Worth and I think in Dallas too. So this is coming from the federal government or a certain person. So I invite everybody to come out.
Thank you. And now, please settle comfortably for our musical prelude.
Our call to worship this morning is an excerpt from James Baldwin, from Nobody Knows My Name, and this is what he says. One can only face in others what one can face in oneself. On this confrontation depends the measure of our wisdom and compassion. This energy is all that one finds in the rubble of vanished civilization and the only hope for ours. We now invite you to rise in body and or spirit for the chalice lighting, the opening hymn, and spoken affirmation.
Our chalice lighting words were written by Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Now please join us in singing our hymn of the month for August, number 368, Now Let Us Sing. Now, please join us in our affirmation. The words are in the order of service and also are projected on the screens. Now the young and young at heart are invited to come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel.
Good morning. Good morning. I was hoping you would be here this morning. Ooh, how are you? Yay! Good morning. Nice to see you all this morning. How are you? Good, yay. So, I want to talk pancakes. How do you feel about pancakes? Are they yummy? Do you all like pancakes? Yeah, me too. What kind of pancakes do you like? With marshmallows. Chocolate chip marshmallow pancakes. Now, how could that be any better? Love it. I've not had with marshmallows, so now you've given me something else I want to try. Yeah. Blueberry pancakes. Does anyone like blueberry? Yeah, okay, yeah, we got a few. Yep. Okay, big fan. All right. Yeah. You like them? Yeah, with blueberries? Yeah. Very good. How about strawberries? Anyone do? Okay, yeah, we hit another good one. Okay, you like those too. I'm with you on that. So I want to tell you about my nephew, Kendrick. I know my nephew, Kendrick. So for years and years, when we all got together at Nana's house, she would make us pancakes. And Nana made the best pancakes. But the thing was, every year or every time we gathered for these pancakes, my nephew Kendrick would put peanut butter on them. And I was thinking he ruined the pancakes. Like every time, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, this is not a thing. So you know what happened to me? Like a few years ago, it wasn't all that long, but just a few years ago, I don't know why, but just out of the blue, I thought, I'm going to put some peanut butter on this pancake. I know, and I don't even know why I did it. Kendrick wasn't there, wasn't anything, but I put some peanut butter on a pancake I had just made. And you know what I discovered? Game changer. It means blew my mind. There's something about warm peanut butter, and I am telling you, it's good. See, and you learned it early in life, so you were much smarter than me. It took me a very long time to figure this out. But you know what it got me to thinking about? Was that, something that I thought I wouldn't like just kept me from trying it for many, many years. And then when I finally decided to try it, I realized I actually liked it a lot. And it seemed to me that that is maybe a good lesson for us, just in terms of like getting along with one another. Like maybe when we think someone else has an idea we don't like, or they do something we don't like, that actually if we try it, we might be surprised how much we like it too. Yeah. So maybe that's a good lesson for all of us to remember. So can you maybe keep that in mind today and go have yourself a peanut butter pancake for me? Yeah, have another one, okay? Thank you for spending some time with me today. It was really fun getting to see you. And I think that's cool. You scored. Oh, that sounds great too. Awesome. Well, good for you. Well, thanks for spending some time with me today, and I'll see you next time, okay?
All right, let's go ahead and sing the children out now.
Goodbye.
As we leave this friendly place, walk light to every face. May the kindness which we learn guide our hearts till we return. The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together, lighting our chalice, and reciting our unison affirmation. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. It is our custom to share the undesignated cash offerings that are collected each week. We do this on a quarterly basis for a nonprofit or charitable organization. Our current Share the Plate recipient is Eastside Community Assistance, also known as Eastside Ministries. If you prefer, donations can be made using the QR code that is on the back of the order of service. The offering will now be accepted. Will the ushers please come forward?
Our reading this morning comes from Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart. To relate with others compassionately is a challenge. Really communicating to the heart and being there for someone else, our child, spouse, parent, client, patient, or the homeless woman on the street. It means not shutting down on that person, which means first of all, not shutting down on ourselves. This means allowing ourselves to feel what we feel and not pushing it away. It means accepting every aspect of ourselves, even the parts we don't like. And to do this requires openness, which in Buddhism is sometimes called emptiness. Not fixating or holding on to anything. Only in an open, non-judgmental space can we acknowledge what we are feeling. Only in an open space, when we're not all caught up in our own version of reality, can we see and hear and feel who others really are. which allows us to be with them and communicate with them properly.
We now invite you to rise as you are willing and able for our hymn number 318, We Would Be One. At this time in our service, we pause to honor and to give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and in the world, and honor our time together with the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week, there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles here next to our chalice. Also, at any time during our service, you are welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of the chancel. Today, from our Book of Memory and Hope, we have the following. Colleen Brewer's husband is in the hospital, and he is seriously ill. So please keep the 2 of them in your thoughts, prayers. Just hold them up. And that is the only entry that we have. So we will keep all unspoken thoughts, hopes, prayers, concerns, unspoken but deeply felt. We'll keep those in our hearts as well. Sit and rest for a minute. Take several deep breaths in and out again, calling your attention to this space. Attention. Pay attention. Pay attention to where you are right now. I mean where you are, and where you are. You are here in this community, in this sanctuary, in this state, in this country, on this beautiful blue planet, whirling through the tailspin of a galaxy. You are unique. You are made of cells and hormones. You are a mix of thoughts, emotions, values. You are the inheritors of your parents' and ancestors' dreaming. You are part of the human inhabitants on this earth. You exist. You are breathing, you are still. You are connected, you are present. You have a holy spark inside you. You are here now, you are paying attention. Blessed be. And now we will take a moment of silent meditation, and then Misha will lift our hearts with beautiful music.
Thank you so much, Misha. It was our very first tsunami warning. Me, my husband, and I, we were staying on the Oregon coast, and after a day of hiking, we were getting ready to have dinner when I checked my phone to see what the temperature was. And I looked a little closer at my screen. Was I reading correctly? Were we in a tsunami warning? Do you remember this? It was like maybe 6 weeks ago. And there was the earthquake off of the coast of Russia, and the weather forecasters were forecasting that there would be tsunamis up and down the west coast. And we happened to be staying in Oregon on the coast that night. And so there we were, in our very first tsunami warning, having no idea at all what to do. So our first thought was, okay, we'll pack a bag in case we might need to leave quickly and go to higher ground. And we'll take some water and maybe some food. But since there were several hours before they were predicting the tsunami would hit, we went ahead with our dinner plans. I mean, priorities. So while at dinner, I kept trying to get a pulse on the atmosphere, but no one seemed anxious. No one seemed especially interested in looking out the windows. No people were glancing nervously at their phones and then looking at the waves. So before we left, I asked the host where we might find instructions, about what to do. Oh, just go to your zone. Basically not helpful. So on our way back to our accommodations, we filled the car with gas. And it was once we were back at the condo that we began to feel even more anxious. We checked the town's website. And on the website, they had simply posted a map, and it indicated evacuation zones. And since we were on the shore, we were in the evacuation zone portion. But what were we supposed to do about it? So probably just feeling an anxious reflex, I texted a friend of mine and I said, "Hey, new adventure, tsunami warning." Well, she immediately went to work and started sending me several websites, one after another. Then finally she just called and she said, "Okay, look, you need to make a decision and get out of there." Okay, maybe, but no one else seemed to be paying attention, like at all. I looked outside, the parking lot was completely full. The beach was empty, but no one was leaving. Finally, we decided, okay, well, let's go on a walk and let's try to find some local people and see if they could tell us what to do. And quickly, we came across two different sets of people, and that was important to me. I wanted to talk with two different people who weren't telling me the same thing at the same time. Both groups said, nothing to worry about. Okay, so we returned to the condo a little less worried, but we did stay up late enough to make sure we didn't need to take further action. And of course, everything turned out fine. But what strikes me about that experience is that the contours of it were created by our relationship to the community, or more precisely, our lack of connectedness to the community. We were not locals, we didn't belong, and therefore we were in a bubble of our own. And this separation meant several things. We were not privy to key pieces of information that would have given us clarity about what to do. What were the zones? And where specifically were they? And how did you determine which zone applied to you? And further, how do you know when to go to your zone? Well, it turns out a couple years back, the town had decided they didn't want to pay for the sirens any longer, and so they had been turned off. Would have been nice to know that, again, but we weren't part of the community, so we didn't know where to get all of the helpful information. You know, it turns out that even in a possible tsunami, or maybe just in life's everyday realities, it's easy to take our connection, our interconnectedness, for granted. Even though scientists tell us that as humans we are hardwired for relationship, we often fail to take that as seriously as we can. And I suppose part of the consequence for our failures to be more proactive can be seen in the U.S. statistics that keep coming out. So, for example, when asked if someone in their life knows them very well, 54% of Americans say no. Over half. No one knows us very well. The number of people who say they have no close friends has quadrupled in a generation. Depression and teen suicide are up by 58%. 26% say that they have experienced a broken family relationship. And among high school and college-age students, 45% feel despondent. Well, this is clearly the bad news. But I don't think it's the full picture. I think there could be good news when we are willing to do the hard work of spiritual transformation, when we're willing to exercise spiritual muscles that can help us create meaningful connections. Now, in the Buddhist tradition, we learn that we must do this hard work. No one can do it for us. So today I want to talk about cultivating a sense of true belonging, both to ourselves and for others. And to begin, I think it's important for us to distinguish between belonging and fitting in. So take a moment, if you will, and think about a time when you felt you knew for sure you belonged. How did you know you belonged? How did it feel? And what actions did others take to let you know that you belonged? In contrast to that, I want you to think about a time when you desperately wanted to belong, but instead you settled for fitting in. And if you can, think about how that felt. What's the difference? Belonging, I think, is a sense that we have a right to be in a space, in a group, just as we are. And fitting in means we need to earn our place to be there. That difference is a negative or a defect. Fitting in means we focus attention on things that are different and then we try to curb those things within ourselves. Maybe we are in a group and the whole group loves vanilla pudding, but our preference is chocolate cake. So in order to fit in, we try to convince ourselves that vanilla is on par with chocolate. Impossible. See? I know. When we are trying to fit in, we think there's something wrong with us, and we have to rectify it so that we can be part of a desired group. But belonging, on the other hand, highlights our commonalities, what we share with one another, and doesn't require us to change who we are to be a part. And if we think about belonging in terms of others, it means that we are willing to accept others as they are, even if they like vanilla more than chocolate. It seems to me that where we are as a society means that we, as members of a faith community, need to step up and do more to ensure people in our circles of interaction know they belong. It means being intentional in demonstrating just how committed we are to enlarging our arms of belonging. I think it's following the wisdom of the Sufi poet Hafiz, who penned this famous line: "The small person builds cages for everyone they know, while the sage, who has to duck their head when the moon is low, keeps dropping keys all night long for the beautiful, rowdy prisoners." Most of us, I think, spend a lot of our time building cages around us. We strive to make others feel small so that we can feel bigger. Cage building is protecting ourselves and our own self-interest. But dropping keys all night for the sake of beautiful, rowdy prisoners? I wonder what that might look like. I recently came across a social media post by a theologian by the name of Kate Bowler. She teaches at Duke Divinity School in North Carolina, and she suggested some pretty straightforward actions that we can take to drop some keys where they are needed. And she suggested some of the following that I thought I'd share with you. Send a short, specific text to someone. Make it easy for them to say yes, or no, or nothing at all. So no open-ended, let me know if you need anything text. Instead, just offer something real and something concrete. So for example, I'm picking up dinner at XYZ. Can I drop something off for you? Or do you need a ride home from work today? Or how about this? I made some extra banana bread today. May I bring you a slice or two? Or I'm headed to the pharmacy. Can I pick up anything for you? Another idea is to be an errand buddy, because some things are just easier to do when someone is beside you. So maybe try something like this. I would be happy to drive you to your doctor's appointment. I'd even be happy to go with you and take notes if you need. I'd be happy to drive you to the grocery store and help you purchase and load your items. What about just sitting with someone while their car is in the garage? Okay, maybe something a little more fun. How about this? Host an anything goes party, meaning it's a space where people can show up and celebrate for no reason, just because. No milestone needs to be celebrated, but here, you could try this. Someone turned in a resignation letter. Maybe they completed a home improvement project. Maybe they finally set a boundary they had been avoiding. Maybe they just harvested something from their garden. How about a party to celebrate that? And maybe just a couple more suggestions. What about offering your skills? You could offer to fix a faucet that keeps leaking. Maybe proofread a resume. Maybe set up technology or troubleshoot some technological problem. Maybe help tame an overflowing pantry. I imagine some of us have one of those. You could babysit so that someone has a night out. Or maybe just walk the dog on a busy weeknight. There's so many things, and I think you will have many other better ideas than I've named. But all of this is good and important work that we can be doing today. And also, some of us are probably called to take this idea of belonging, of dropping keys, even further. In 1973, the poet and author Maya Angelou was being interviewed by Bill Moyers. And in that interview, she remarked that we are only free when we belong everywhere and nowhere. And if you watch that interview, it takes a second, but Bill Moyers kind of stops as he's processing what she's just said, and he's puzzled by it clearly. And so he stops her and says, wait a minute, explain that. What do you mean? And so Angelou goes on to describe the paradox by saying that freedom is belonging everywhere, because that means showing up with our truest selves, and belonging nowhere, which means that we have the courage to maintain our integrity, to be true to ourselves, even when no one else will stand with us. So the mark of true belonging is to be able to say, yes, I am part of something bigger, and I will also stand alone when I need to. So I invite you to think about a time when someone has really helped you. It could have been with food, or maybe with money or clothing. Or perhaps it was just something that they said that caused you to think, or maybe to live differently. Maybe someone convinced you to eat less meat, or to be vigilant about creating a Sabbath, or maybe just trusting that the divine is not some angry monster in the sky. Whatever it was like someone placed a key on the ground in front of you so that you could pick it up and unlock that cage. The cages we as a society have created are enormous, and they're proliferating. And daily we see cages of racial injustice, of economic inequality, of political extremism, of environmental destruction. And just this week, we have witnessed again the cage of gun violence and selfishness that will not release its grip enough so that we can create a culture of safety even for our children. And truthfully, we have all done our share of cage building and key dropping. We've probably created a lot of cages, especially for ourselves. We've let that negative voice in our head convince us that we're not enough. We've let negative messages of our culture lure us into consuming things we don't really need. But in reality, many of our cages are just what it is about being human, making mistakes, failing to see the full scope of what is true. And the wonderful, wonderful news is that we can realize what we've done and do better. And we can shift our actions. And we can build fewer cages. And what's more, we can drop a lot more keys. No key, when it is dropped with love, is too small. Where are you going to drop some keys this week? Let's stand in body and or spirit and sing our closing hymn, which is number 168, One More Step.
Our closing words today are from Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less. It becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world.
Following the benediction, remember that there's coffee and conversation in the back, so please stay for that. So here's the benediction. When we're in community, we are inspired and we are connected and we are interconnected. So now let's go and drop those keys of connection. Amen.